What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Trip Sitting Podcast. I am your host, Cam Leeds. Before we get started, make sure you're following us on social media at _trip_sitting_ and be sure that you're following the podcast so you don't miss any new content that we drop. And if you feel so inclined, give us a rating so we can please the algorithm gods and get in front of more viewers. Now, today's guest is an amazing woman who I had the pleasure of meeting through some of the other podcast guests that I've had here. She is a microdosing coach. She is a somatic healer. She is a retreat facilitator. She's a space holder. And like I said, she is just an amazing human. Please welcome to the podcast, Bia Luna. So you've been working a lot with Kambo lately, and that is a medicine that I feel like I've definitely mentioned and talked about on this podcast, but I feel like I have not gone very in depth. So before we even talk about what exactly it is that you've been doing, what exactly is Kambo?
Yeah. So Kambo is a frog secretion, and it's used more so for body healing, my understanding, and it's kind of known as the medicine that just makes you violently sick. And it's not wrong, and it also can make you violently well.
Yeah.
Also, but yeah, it's a bit of a unique medicine. It's unlike a lot of other medicines I work with, it's not psychedelic, but it is psychoactive, and it has a really unique mode of administration, which is sort of these little burns on your skin that are called gates. And then they take the secretion, and it's almost like this waxy material, and they set them on the gates. So then they're called dots, Kambo dots. And, of course, depending on various different space holders and how they go about it, I imagine, and different bodies coming to this work, the experience may range. But, some common effects are sort of a series of experiences that feel a lot like having the flu.
Yeah. And just really quick for the people that don't know, how do you create the gates on your skin?
Oh, yeah, they're burned. Oh, yeah. And I remember before I sat with Kambo, the burn was actually my greatest fear. And a number of people were like, girl, that's the least of your worries. It's not that bad, I can say, too. Carrying that as like a deep fear. I came back. I've been doing it multiple times. The burn is just so quick. It's not at all,
Yeah. It's like that, like when you go to the doctor's office and they need to like take blood from your finger, like it's just like a little prick.
Yeah, exactly. Just a second's worth, and then you're in the rest of the experience.
Yeah, and once the Kambo starts, you don't remember the fact that you just got burned.
Right. Have you sat with Kambo before?
I've sat with Kambo one time, and it was right after a very, very long ayahuasca ceremony that I was up until probably 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I woke up and did Kambo at 7:30. So I didn't have a lot of time between then, and I had purged so much during that ceremony that there was nothing really left for the medicine to do. That's the way I look at it, because I didn't purge at all. Like I definitely felt a little sick for like 10 minutes, and then I was fine. So I look at it as I think ayahuasca just kind of cleared me out a little bit. That Kambo didn't have much more to do with that moment in time.
Yeah.
But I definitely would like to sit with Kambo again.
Totally. I love that. Wow. What an experience, and barely any sleep and going into it. And that's what I'm learning more about Kambo too, is, there's a lot of connection to the purge. And what I'm starting to understand more as I dive into this medicine is that it's not necessary to purge. And, one of the beneficial things about the Kambo is a host of peptides that are just great for various different functions and processes in our body.
What's a peptide?
I'm still kind of wrapping my head around this. I think, it's sort of, I'm trying to think
because I hear that word and I immediately associate with it, like, oh yeah, like I know that's good for me. Like I'm supposed to have those, but I have no idea why or what it is.
Yeah, I, in this moment, probably can't explain truly what a peptide is very well. I'm still kind of understanding the science of it. I understand, that there are various different peptides that are good for our hormones and good for our GI tract, and but I don't think I could explain what a peptide is yet.
That's one of those words for me. It's like the word alkaloid when someone's like, "Oh, you're supposed to have all these alcohol." I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but like,
Right.
yeah, like that sounds right.
Sure, but we need it.
Yeah, give them to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited though. I'm going to be training in January of 2025 to work with
okay,
Kambo. So circle back and I'll have a clear answer
okay.
about what that is.
So currently where you're at in your journey with Kambo, how did this start?
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, my journey with Kambo first started with hearing about Kambo and then being like, that's a hard no for me. Thinking this was a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I heard of Kambo and thinking, oh, you don't even trip? Like, it's okay. I have all these medicines I'd rather work with. Um, but in more recent months, I've learned that Kambo is really a medicine that speaks directly to your nervous system. Oh, might get a little emotional. And I had an experience with something that sort of made me snap in my life recently. I had sort of a culmination of, sort of trauma showing up in my body and various different triggers for it until one thing happened and I sort of peaked and I went into a somatic response where I was basically blacked out for this experience and I was kicking and screaming and growling and thrashing and just going through these waves of processing. And ever since, I kind of wasn't the same. I was having trouble with insomnia. My nervous system was already pretty sensitive. I was just extra sensitive, really emotional. I was having these really high highs and really low lows. And I started dreaming about Kambo. And I had a dream that just said Kambo is what's going to be a healer for you. And I actually reached out to a practitioner because I had learned that Bufo was good for nervous system healing, which was
Mhm.
another part of my amphibian journey that I've been on recently. But I asked him, I've been called to Kambo. Is that something you work with? And it just so happened that the facilitator facilitates both amphibian medicines. So
Mhm.
we sort of aligned this sort of healing container of 3 combo sessions, which traditionally a combo inoculation is 3 sessions within a moon period. It's
Mhm.
called the vaccine of the forest.
Mhm.
Um, and went through those sessions leading up to my Bufo experience. And it was, yeah, really transformative for me.
When
Um,
was that?
It was throughout May. So
Okay.
I did the 3 sessions in May. The first one I was still in a really, really dark place.
Mhm.
Really dark place or shadowy. The dark can be good for us, but I was in a pretty shadowy place. And, I remember leaving that combo session and I was like having road rage, which is like not me, not my style. But that's how I know something's like really off. And I remember thinking like, oh, I don't know if this worked. But I just trusted, I'm dealing with some deep stuff. I don't think it's a one night process.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took place over a month. And interestingly, in that month, I had an ayahuasca ceremony. Um, I've been feeling called back to her medicine for about a year, and it just worked out perfectly that someone was holding a retreat on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, which when does that ever happen? But it was just happened to be my 2 days available.
Mhm.
And I had heard another combo practitioner saying that ayahuasca is the teacher and combo is the healer.
Mm.
And the two of them just worked so synergistically to really get me through this time in my life.
And then you did Bufo afterwards?
Yeah, I sat with Bufo last week.
Oh wow, okay. So you are just
And
coming out of that still.
just coming out of that still, and it was a great way to meet the medicine. Um,
Mhm.
I actually have one more Bufo session in July as sort of part of this healing container, and I'm devoted right now to not sitting with other substances, so I can just really be with the integration of these medicines.
Yeah. Is this your first time sitting with Bufo, or had you sat with Bufo before?
It was my first time.
Mm,
And similarly, I hadn't felt a call to the medicine until somewhat recently.
hmm.
I do believe it calls you when you're ready,
Yeah, I
and that
agree.
happened. It totally happened. But it was part of being ready to meet these medicines that speak directly to my nervous system. And, with Bufo, of course, there's, we can go real deep. You can meet God, you can have experience unity and so many beneficial things. But for me, that would have been, a bonus. It was really about speaking to my nervous system.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something really beautiful about the amphibian medicines is that they have a nervous system. Like the plants can be so healing. Of course, I've worked with
Hmm.
them for many years, but I think an amphibian is they have the nervous system quality that it can really meet us there in our own. So that was a unique experience to have with both.
That's really interesting. I've never really thought of it that way, but that actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It can really meet us there. And it did. But all of them are so supportive. I'm feeling really
Yeah.
good.
So what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis? What does your life look like?
Oh my gosh. It depends on the day of the week. In addition to the work I do, I'm a mom. I have
Mm,
twins who are 7, Phoenix and Sequoia, and they're just like, that's my role in this world is to just really be a mom and to carry that maternal spirit and energy through all I do. So that shines, of course, when I'm with them, but it flows into the rest that I do. Oh man, I mean, I'm in the psychedelic space with work, and I constantly am growing and shifting and evolving what that means and it looks like. But I hold space with psilocybin,
hmm.
and so it flows between one-on-one ceremonies or retreats. So, a handful of days a month are preparing for these. I'm holding a handful of private ceremonies a month. So there's a lot of time being in ceremony space and then preparing for it and integrating, having conversations with people who are going through somatic coaching to sort of shed any blocks within themselves that they have for surrendering to the medicine beforehand, and then the unfolding of integration after. I'm constantly volunteering at my daughter's school. When I'm not, I'm a huge fan of solo travels. I really, love my trips to Nevada City or to get a yurt somewhere, and constantly in my own process connecting with the teachers. And there's days I lead like workshops in the Bay Area. So it kind of depends on what of those sort of top level things that I'm doing. But
Yeah.
amidst that, just trying to check off the to-do list, trying to resolve the to-do list though. I'm really trying to separate the role of my to-do list in my life.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to do less and less and less. And I'm trying to do more of connecting with nature because it's feeling like, there's my days now and there's the days that I'm hoping to get to. It involves a lot more nature.
Yeah. I've recently started trying to actually make myself to-do lists to make sure that I get things done, because a lot of the time like my day is very fluid and it can change a lot from day to day, like between the types of calls that I'm having, whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I'm, want to go out in nature or work out or something. But I've noticed that if I don't at the beginning of my day, like actually look at a list of, okay, here's what I need to get done, and here's what maybe I'd like to get done. Like if I don't have the general understanding of that, it's hard for me to be fully present with whatever it is that I'm doing, because then I'm always thinking of, oh, well, what else could I be doing right now? Whereas, at the beginning, if I'm like, this is what I need to do, like this shit just needs to get done because it has to get done, and that's just how life works.
Yeah.
Then once I'm done with those things, it allows me to then, like, everything else is just bonus after that, where it's like, okay, cool, now I can just do this for fun and have a good time and not care about any other thing that I have to do because I already did it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. It's something that a coach helped me with recently, which is if everything's a priority, there are no priorities. And I
Yeah.
was doing everything at my to-do list and just looking at it like this big,
Yep,
massive,
exactly.
and then I'd shut down. So it was, choose three of the most important things, three MIT for the day, get those done, and then you can be sort of pleasantly surprised whatever else flows into the space. And it's, yeah, it feels similar to just tackling and then let it flow.
Yeah. So what did you do before you got into the psychedelic space?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been in the hospitality industry for 15 plus years. And before I got into the psychedelic space, I was owning a restaurant.
Mm.
And did various different things. I became a doula for a while, but the restaurant ownership just really trumps everything. You kind of have to focus on that entirely. So that was what was really consuming it. And then I went through a divorce, and in the divorce, I also divorced the restaurant.
Hmm.
And that's when coaching came into my life. So for a couple of years, almost a couple of years before I started really focusing on psychedelic work, I was focusing on women's sobriety in the coaching
Mm.
space. And that was really meaningful to me too. I sort of made this prayer when I left the restaurant. I've always had this part of me that wanted to be connected to the healing arts. And so when I left the restaurant, I said, whatever I do, I want it to be connected to my own healing. And because of that, what I do is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Hence Kambo coming into my practice now. Like, okay, this is the next
Ha-
modality, next offering.
has there always been kind of a focus on healing throughout your life?
Yeah, definitely. As a kid, I didn't quite understand what that meant, but there was always, a thread of compassion and empathy that came through and mysticism. As a kid, I was more attracted to like healing in the witchy arts.
Hmm.
I played a lot of games and potions and things like that. And then as I got older, started learning about Reiki and plant medicine. Plant medicine came into my life pretty fairly young. And so about a third of my life now has been devoted to understanding plant medicine arts, and I became a doula and just other space holders. And I think, yeah, I've always been really connected to the healing arts.
That's awesome. With the restaurant, like how did you even get into that?
I mean, a lot of it goes back to my first job. I was a busser in a restaurant in the tiny town that I worked for, and it was just what was accessible. And I realized, I was good at it. I can kind of see the flow and was hospitable. I like working with people. I like helping people have a good time. And then moving to San Francisco when I was pretty young, I had a stint where I was a hairdresser. It wasn't for me. But moving to San Francisco, it was a great job, a great way to meet people.
Hmm.
And I've always really liked that aspect of nourishing people. And it's something that I keep into my work today. Feeding people is like my love language.
Yeah.
So there's definitely components of that I get to keep. And then just after being in the restaurant industry for so long, my brain really was able to start seeing, all the pieces. So I got really into restaurant operations.
Hmm.
And I still do some support for restaurants in the Bay Area that are looking for mostly front of house support and systems and things like that. It's nice to dip my toe in and eat some good food.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
when I moved to Denver, um I had never worked in the like food service like industry before or anything like that, but I moved to Denver. I didn't have a job at the time, and when I first moved here, I was like, I don't need a job. I'm just going to chill for a little bit and hang out and go skiing and things like that. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to start making a little bit of money. And I decided to try to get a job in the food service industry. And so I did that. My first job was as a host at like a really at a brand new restaurant that was just opening up. And so, but it was like a chain. So this was their third restaurant, and it was a really busy restaurant too, like pretty well known in the Denver area from my understanding. And so there's a lot of hype around that opening, and yeah, it was just busy as hell, and there were so many moving parts. And then after that, then I moved into like a busser role, And yeah, it was just a lot. Like I certainly learned a lot about myself, about the industry, about like how these things work. And somebody like somebody I know told me this recently, but like if you really step back and look at the world, 50% of the world is just serving the other 50% of the world.
Oh,
And just through food, like just
yeah,
through that medium right there. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But
true.
there's a lot of rude people out there. There are a lot of people that expect the fucking world to be given to them, and when
True.
they don't get it, they throw a little hissy fit.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always thought that community service should, like in serving in restaurants, should be a part of something that you experience in.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's
Many
great.
people don't get
And
it. And the entitlement waves through, and then just no clue about how it actually works or feels or how to connect. And
now about all the logistics, things that could go wrong, like why your order is taking 20 minutes instead of 10, like things like that. And um
yeah.
it was always funny too, because like as a busser, when I'd be then like bussing tables and people, like I could tell the people that were there that have worked in the food service industry before, because they were always the people that are stacking their plates nicely and like putting at the end and like just saying thank you all the time for the things, versus the people that like could not give two fucks that you were there, that you were like trying to help them with things and like actively not getting out of your way.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be beautiful. And I got to give you some props and celebration for being a host in a busy restaurant. That I think that's truly the hardest position, and it's the one that gets the most shit because
Oh, dude, there were every single like weekend hour and a half wait times, and people were pissed. And we didn't take reservations either, so people would come in. We you have to tell them like there's hour and a half wait, and they'd be like, "Can't you do something about that?" I'm like, "No, I literally cannot. There's nothing. Like, what do you think I can do? You're not even trying to hand me money and bribe me. Like what makes you think that I would bump you up?"
right, right. And it's the people, and maybe something could happen if you're nice about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just, it goes a long way. Gentleness and kindness goes so far in life, but in restaurants too. So be nice to the
Yeah, in
people
restaurants for sure.
who are meeting you or seeing you.
So I did that for maybe 4 months, and then I decided to move on to just being a beer tender at a
Well,
local brewery.
I imagine that's
Um,
pretty chill out here.
oh, it's so chill. Well, so that was what I actually originally wanted to do, but because it's like there's so many like breweries and stuff in Colorado, it was really hard to get hired without any experience in the food service industry. So that's why I was like, fuck it, I guess I'll be a host and a busser. And then yeah, now I have this job as a beer tender, and I just do that pretty much once a week now. I still do it just because it's super chill. Like I
Yeah.
just get to hang out. It's a local mom and pop brewery. And so like there's just a ton of regulars that we serve, and everybody's super nice and just down.
See, that's where it's at. I love places like that. And it's nice that you can have a day, maybe pick up shifts.
Yeah.
Don't need
It's
it.
it's also funny too, because when you get to know the regulars and stuff, you get to kind of know each other, and they'll ask, so like what do you do during during your during when you're not here, and then I'll talk to them a little bit about, oh, so I actually work with sacred plant medicines to help people with various things, and that started a lot of conversations and certainly sparked some interests from people.
Yeah.
um, but I
You,
never like lead out of the gate with those types of things. I have to let people ask me first.
yeah. And get a feel for the
Yeah,
people.
they're all super chill.
Does it change, your description of what you do based on who you're communicating with?
I think my description of what I do changes just based on the day. Like it doesn't even matter who I'm talking to. Like I think every single day I think about, if somebody were to ask me what I do, how would like what would I tell them? And I think it changes every single day, just
Yeah.
because I really don't know. Like I right now I think what I usually say is I'm a guardian for sacred plant medicines.
Oh, I like that.
Um, but like what the fuck does that mean?
Great. Totally.
Especially to somebody who has no idea what this space looks like. And then I'm like, okay, so here's what I like actually do on a day-to-day basis. Work with retreat centers. I have a podcast. I talk about them with people. And um, I guess it's just like education, but yeah, it's interesting. What's your answer if somebody asks you, "Hey, Bia, what do you do?"
It changes day to day.
Yeah.
Same thing, and it depends, kind of like what you asked what my day to day look like. It really depends on what's feeling really alive for me at the moment. But I think what's feeling pretty good lately is I say I'm a sacred earth medicine facilitator, depending on the
Okay.
person. I'll say I'm a psilocybin facilitator,
Yeah.
a somatic trauma coach. I'm a mama and a ceremonialist.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, and all of them are such a part of it. My
Hmm.
business is just like all these things, but it's all part of who I am and what I do. And it's one of those things where it's like you have to have experienced it even to know what it actually is.
Yeah.
Talking can only take it so far, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's all right.
Sometimes I tell people I just sell drugs.
Here it is. No, that's
Just in
right.
a complete lie, but it's also not fully the truth.
Right, it's in there somewhere. It gets a label.
Yeah. It gets the point across. Um, oh man. So what is feeling really, really alive for you right now in your life? Like what are you, I guess, so
Mm.
besides the bufo, but you're also moving too, right?
Yeah, I'm moving, blending families with my partner, and we just got a beautiful home for us and my daughters, and just really settling in. That feels so nice. It was a brutal journey. It was 4 months and 30 applications, a lot of no's, a lot of heartbreak, and I was just about to say, hey, let's take the summer off.
Hmm.
Um, and when we looked one more time and we're like, well, let's just file a couple more applications. And, this one was even outside of Zillow. We had to pay, and then we got it.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
So the moving itself is a trip. But what's feeling alive? Oh, I might get a little emotional. Is that I am alive. Life itself is really coming through right now. After being in my shadow for, really intensely for a few months, but truly for the better half of, 5 years after a really traumatic divorce and various other things I was going through. It's been challenging healing trauma in my body. And the thing that has kind of cued me into being really disconnected from myself is I'm a very grateful person. I feel a lot of joy in my heart, and I have a lot of beauty in my life, a lot of safe relationships, community. I'm in the job that just lights my soul on fire, and I was having trouble actually feeling it.
Hmm.
And there's been a lot of physical healing in my body and a lot of things coming up to be felt and healed all at once. And I can say that this recent journey of the amphibian medicine and my recent Aya ceremony and some lifestyle changes I made just completely switched things around.
Hmm.
And I feel just this abundant joy. I've been super silly again. I have all the time. I'm like looking at butterflies and rainbows and just like smiling nonstop. And I've been feeling really steady. And so I'm really feeding this narrative, going deeper and deeper into it, just, reaffirming that I feel good and I feel alive and I can hold steady and I can trust my heart and all of these beautiful, and I can let love in. That's a
Hmm.
really big thing. So everything is feeling alive because of that right now in a really overwhelmingly beautiful way.
Was there something that you like learned or something that like shifted in you that you think has now really allowed you to feel this?
Narrative is everything. The words and beliefs that we carry about ourselves are really, really huge. And when I was sitting with ayahuasca, I realized that the reason I wasn't healing was because I didn't believe that I could heal.
Mm.
And I had to really sit with that and move through it and allow myself to believe that I could heal on a physical, spiritual, emotional, mental level, everywhere. And so that was really helpful, just really changing that belief within myself. And accountability. Their grandmother sat me down in the night two of my recent ceremony and was like, accountability time, Bia.
Mm.
We got to talk about all the ways that you're not in integrity. That was after the first I was like, beautiful, love, I love myself, and I let love in. That
Yeah,
was a
she
nice
tends
one.
to do that
Yeah.
sometimes. Well, honestly, it's either that way or it's the complete opposite. Whereas like the first night she'll smack you around a little bit, and then the second night she'll be like, okay, now you can go have fun.
I love now. I've had both. I've had both in different orders, but this time it was needed for the love first because I don't
Yeah,
think I could have handled
it
the
wouldn't
second.
have. Yeah, it's needed to open you up to the second night to like really
Yeah,
be able to then receive that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it was just that, so there was a healthy dose of accountability and acknowledging where I'm contributing to my own suffering, whether with habits or actions or avoidant behaviors or, narratives or even just the words that I use. Um, so,
Something that's really crazy about ayahuasca and like all of the plant medicines, but ayahuasca specifically, based on my limited experience with it, is like obviously like the term sit with the medicine is a very common term now, and I think I still go back and forth on when I use that or when I'm using whatever, like, but ayahuasca using the term like sit with medicine I think is really accurate because she will truly just make you sit there in like that narrative and like not do anything else, like not try to fix it, see what you can do better, but like bring up some sort of belief that you have, and you have to just sit there and just ponder on it, and there's nothing else you can do or else it's going to just start getting really tense real quick, and
oh,
like you might literally be sitting there for an hour just having to ponder, like I have this belief that I can't heal, for example, or like I have this belief that like I'm not worthy of love, and you just have to sit there and really like feel all of that and feel how shitty it feels sometimes too, and like you have to let it play its course by just sitting there like with that potentially really uncomfortable shitty feeling before then it can finally pass through you, because it's just like years and years of like built up narratives and things that you've done that you haven't been able to let go of before you can finally be able to let go of it.
oh yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've had ceremonies where I had to feel like all the hate I had for myself in my entire life all at once. And that was brutal. It wasn't this one, but it's happened and that's a lot. But I think sometimes, ayahuasca especially, but also some of the other medicines, sometimes they can show us what we need by showing us the opposite, which to
Mm,
feel our love, we have to go so deep into our hate or
the
our fear,
shadow.
the shadow side of it to really understand what's on the other side and to, you know, it's nice for us as humans to use what feels good as a motivation to get to the place where we're going. But sometimes pain is a really powerful motivator. And so, but, even when Aya is kicking my ass and showing me my shadow, I still feel like she's holding my hand while she's
Yeah,
doing it.
something that I learned during my first go around with ayahuasca is like pain is temporary, suffering is a choice.
Hmm. Hmm. Remind me when you sat for the first time.
November or no September 2022.
Nice.
So like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And it all still keeps unfolding. I
It
imagine.
does. It's still a continuous integration process of me having to remember some of the lessons that she gave me that first time and be
Yeah.
like, okay, where am I maybe not remembering some of those things and veering a little bit off course. But it's all part of it. Like you're not supposed to come out and be a perfectly healed soul. Like that doesn't exist. It's always work, and it just I think it opened me up more to the fact that like, oh, this is lifelong work, and that's okay, and that's cool. Like I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to take that on. Whereas before it was more of I just wanted to ignore it and thought that if I ignored it long enough, it would go away.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's a process, this healing journey. But I feel like these medicines really increase our capacity to be with it and to be
Yeah,
in the journey.
yeah. Do you and your ex partner, do you guys co parent?
We counterparent. It's not a healthy situation, unfortunately, and that's been a big experience for me, is learning how to let go of my attachment to the suffering around that and
Hmm.
to have boundaries. I was a very non-boundaried person before my divorce, and it's taught me a lot about boundaries and resilience. Painful, but really helpful medicine.
Yeah. Were your parents together?
They divorced when I was about 7.
Okay.
And my dad, wonderful guy, pretty rough as a father.
Hmm.
And as the years went on, we saw him less and less. He didn't really have the capacity. And both my parents are ancestors now. My dad passed away when I was 20. My mom passed away about a year and a half ago. And I'm still learning how to accept my mom as an ancestor. But for my dad, it happened pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And our relationship really started to blossom about 3 years after he passed, which was also when I started sitting with ayahuasca.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was that the first medicine that you were like really called to?
In a healing container. So I
Okay.
had worked with MDMA, LSD, and mushrooms in a festival and a party setting before then. Mushrooms were a rough go. I had about one really beautiful first experience, and every time after that was just
I'm I'm right now just coming to the conclusion that I don't think I can use any type of like even museum doses of mushrooms in like a recreational capacity anymore.
yeah,
Uh it's so unpredictable for me, and it's also just it's so inward that like I don't want to be in an environment with all of these external distractions when it's trying to make me go inward. Like there's just so much that I can't do. But like
yeah.
MDMA I still have a great time with. 2CB
Just
is a really really great one like for external stuff, and like I'd much rather now like microdose LSD even than like microdosing mushrooms if I'm going out to to
yeah.
hang out with people. It's just a much more external feeling psychedelic. But yeah, I'm again, this is like my relationship with mushrooms is changing, and it continues to evolve. And yeah, I've just noticed that like microdosing mushrooms and going out is still not necessarily even doing it for me. But I know so many people that like love it, that they're like they swear by microdosing mushrooms and like being able to go out and do that. But um, everybody's different.
Yeah, absolutely. I really feel you on that though. Mushrooms, they don't discriminate on when we do the work. And
No.
I've sort of welcomed mushrooms back into my festival life 10 years later now. But it's usually paired with MDMA. But I've
Hmm.
still had, like, oh, I got to process this thing right on the dance floor. And I've had my
Yeah.
partner hold me while I just move through whatever it is the medicine's calling me to process. And it's taken a lot of building of my toolkit to be able to do that. 20-year-old Bia couldn't. And that's why I said, mushrooms are not my medicine. Now they very much are.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. And it's something that I very rarely bring into the festival space. And it's with a hippie flip.
Yeah. I was with MDMA is very much a different story.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever actually like done like a high dose hippie flip, and and by that I mean I've only just like microdosed anytime I've ever done that, which has been nice.
yeah.
Um, but I do like I honestly I really do enjoy MDMA on its own.
I love MDMA. I heard you talking about acid. I love LSD.
That
Like,
was my first love. Like that was I.
same. First
Oh
love.
man. The first time I ever candy flipped was at a music festival, and that was on like a lot of acid and then also a pretty good amount of MDMA too. And then I think the last time I did like a really full dose of acid, um, and like went out was at Lollapalooza in 2022, I think.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
Yeah. I am realizing more and more though these days that my favorite way to sit with these medicines is just chilling. Like
Yeah,
my favorite way to sit with MDMA now is with my partner dancing in my living room.
that's
And
awesome.
my new favorite way to sit with LSD is like a day on the river.
Nice.
It just keeps getting more and more chill. But I do love LSD for music. I just feel like a big kid and it's
Mm-hmm.
such inner child healing, and like all my sillies can come out,
Yeah.
and all the seriousness of life can just, and I
It
can put
just
the feet.
fades away and I can just exist. And like, yeah, it's very, very much inner child work. Like that's always what I've been able to connect with super deeply
Yeah.
with LSD. And now looking back on all the experiences I had in college, which were incredibly recreational and slightly reckless, but it was so much inner child work because I was such a put together good kid that was so afraid to break the rules. And so it almost gave me this little like silliness of like poking the rules a little bit and being like, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do that? I don't have to do any of this shit. Like this is all made up.
Medicine right there. Reality. Oh, this makes me want to go play with LSD.
I'm about to see do you like EDM, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to see Odessa on Saturday.
Nice. Have you chosen
Yeah.
your medicine for that
I
show?
I think 2CB is going to be the medicine.
Nice.
Yeah.
These are moments. 2CB is beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. Odessa is probably one of my favorite groups that I've seen, and the first time I ever saw them was the first time I ever did MDMA, and that was at Austin City
Oh,
Limits
what a
in I think
connection.
2018, and it was, I mean, it was truly magical, and yeah, so I'm really excited now. It's 5 years later, getting to see them again, and also now having so much more experience and such a deeper understanding of how these medicines work. I'm really looking forward to
You've come so far in 5 years.
it. I have. It kind of just happened too.
Yeah,
Certainly
like
wasn't on purpose.
totally, totally. It's the unfolding. I gotta say, it's really refreshing to be able to talk about these medicines and the medicine of play with
Yeah.
them, because I think it can be really easy to get wrapped up in, healing, healing. And it's like dancing your ass off is healing.
Yep.
Smiling so hard your face hurts is healing.
Like
These
just
medicines are really to expand our capacity for joy. Like,
yeah.
go for it.
In any capacity, and like real like again, we exist as people. Like we're supposed to have time to just exist and enjoy that existence without needing to sit and go super deep every single time. Like this is part of integration for me, is just
Yeah.
enjoying life and doing that. Like without that, it can get so you can get really bogged down, and it's really easy to go down that rabbit hole. After I sat with ayahuasca for the first time, I think I really went down that rabbit hole where I was like, oh no, like these medicines are just for healing. Like I just need to sit with these
Mhm.
and like you know do all of the work and like only be focused on that. And it just gets to a point where I'm like, I don't think I'm having fun anymore.
Totally. A space and a time.
Yeah.
Space and time. But I think these medicines want us to feel alive and to feel our joy and to not lose sight of that amidst all this shadow work and deep dive healing stuff. Like,
Yeah. There's a lot that can be done. Well, Bia, we're getting to the end of our time here. So before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share that's alive for you today? And then also let people know where they can find you.
yeah. What's feeling really alive for me right now is just community and connection. Just reminding people that this healing path is not to be done in isolation. Reach out, be in community, make new friends. My goodness, the people in this world are some of the best people. Super grateful to have connected with you. So yeah, just make sure you're reaching out. It's a good something I'd leave people with right now. It's what's feeling really alive for me too this year. It's just community, connection, collaboration. The mycelium connects us. We're meant to do it all together.
Aho.
Yeah.
And then where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on my website at bialuna.com. It's BIALUNA. My Instagram handle, where I'm the most active, it's _Bia.Luna_.
And then I'll also link to these in the footnotes of the podcast. So
Awesome.
thank you so much for coming on. This has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to connect deeper. And I'm so grateful. I got so much love for you.
It's been such a blast. Much love back. Thank you, Cam. We'll be in touch.
that's all we got today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being you. Just thank you. Endless gratitude, truly, to anybody who listened to this. If you're interested in getting in contact with me to collab or sponsor an episode or just chat, shoot me a DM or send me an email at tripsittingblog@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next episode.